Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where today I'm joined by Open Contract Challenge winner, author Walter Esselman. So, welcome, Walter.
Hi, this is a really great pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm
Yeah,
very
I've been looking
opinionated.
forward to this one. You're crazy talented writer. Yeah, I've been reading some of the stuff you've got out there. It's really good, and it fits exactly what we like to read. So.
I write what I love, and I
Yeah.
love, monster movies and all that. I just watched a Hammer film over the weekend, The Curse of Frankenstein. So,
Oh,
for the first
nice.
time. So,
Yeah, very
it's
nice.
do what you love, write what you love, because
That's
then
right.
hopefully you'll find other people who love it too.
Yeah.
So,
Did you watch the Universal monster movies growing up?
I probably watched them in
Yeah.
and amongst there. I was kind of more of a scaredy cat as a kid. So, my I have a very vivid imagination, and at 3 in the morning, that's a bit of a setback.
Yeah.
So it's a detriment. But as I got older, I really got into it. So yeah, I watched. I'm sure I watched, pretty much a
Yeah.
bunch of
They
those.
used to show them like when I was little. They showed them Halloween night, and they would go
Hmm.
late. They would show and most of those were from the 50s and stuff. So it was scary, but it was like black and white scary, so not quite as bad. That was my kind of scary. I could handle
Yeah.
that.
Well, and I've been telling people about my book is that it's, the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, it's more like an action spooky sort of book.
Yeah,
It's not,
that's
you
perfect.
know, to me, horror is Clive Barker, who
Yeah.
completely unsettles me, so I'm
Right.
like, oh no, we're not anywhere near that. This is,
Poor Clive Barker. I don't think they've ever done him justice adapting his material. You
yeah,
know, and
but Lord of Illusions, I still come back to Lord of Illusions.
yeah,
Good God, that is Scott Bakula, just,
yeah,
Kevin J. O'Connor, and just what a strange film, but so,
yeah. That's a good cast too.
yeah.
I mean, if
I
there's
love,
if there's one that comes closest, that is definitely it. That is definitely
yes.
it.
Yeah,
I
I
I
would
I
definitely
keep
say
waiting for
that's
them to
mine.
come out with some modern versions of his stuff, but haven't quite got
But
there yet.
he had a lot of problems with studios.
He did.
So what he needs is to have like a little small studio that just adores him, and will do it perfectly. The way Batman the Animated Series
Yeah,
did for Batman,
that's what he
that's,
needs. He needs like a Del Toro or something to take up some of his stuff.
oh, oh my God, Clive Barker and Del Toro at the same time.
I think that's
That's
what he
the
needs.
Del Toro's the whole upper row of this thing.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to talk with Ron Perlman. Um, he was on quarantine, so he had nowhere to go, and his fiance is a friend of ours, so she set that up for us. So he was forced to talk to us, but it was the best, and he's such good friends with Del Toro,
yeah,
So he talked about him for quite a bit, and that was a highlight for me. That was pretty awesome.
yeah. I think when he was like when they were doing like even back at Kronos, he was telling people he was like, "This is the best new director."
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
I'm
Before
like,
anybody else knew, Ron
yeah,
Perlman knew. so, so Walter, I want to talk about your book because it looks
yeah,
so good. But before we do, let's talk a little
yes.
bit about what made you want to get into writing, and how did you go about that?
Actually, it was kind of I've always been hugely creative,
Yeah,
without in a very ADHD ways, and so it wasn't until, oddly enough, around May 10th, 1991, FX2 came out, and
yes,
I came back. We went to see it on a Saturday, and I remember vividly coming home, getting some paper, and I just started writing a story. And I
yeah.
just said, I can do this. This is exactly what I can do. And I just kept writing for the next 20 odd years, until about 5 years ago, I was kind of like, okay, Spielberg is never going to know about you unless you get your stuff out there.
That's right.
So I started sending out to short story markets,
Yeah.
and then I had always been writing books, so that was kind of but it was one of those things where that became I was doing a whole bunch of magazines, World of Myth, Dark Dossier, Schlock, Aphelion,
Oh,
at one
nice.
point. Yeah, so I was like every month. I didn't even look for other people because it was just hard enough to feed the beast,
Right. Yeah.
and
That's time consuming by itself. Is getting
yeah,
those short stories out there. Did you write or did you submit short stories that were part of the same world that some of your novels were in?
sometimes. And
Yeah.
well, actually, I use short stories. I used to write screenplays, but
Right.
I know no one in Hollywood. So I moved to writing screenplays to copyright the idea, and then I thought if I get it published, that's a double copyright. So
Right. That's right.
so a lot of the stories that I write, sometimes they're kind of they're more self-contained. Sometimes they're just like the very beginning. Liberty's Run, which is going to be the second book this year, was like that.
Yeah.
It was just like one story to get out the idea, and then it was like I didn't have a clue where it was going to go from there, but but other times I have these whole huge backstories that I've just kind of worked out, and I need to kind of figure out. So it's short stories are an outlet to get out the ideas because I have way too many ideas. So
Yeah, I actually kind of love that. My son writes, and his difficulty has always been finishing. So he's got tons of material, all these ideas, but struggles getting any of them to the finish line. So I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, this is pretty good. It's like a book maybe you buy, and I'd sit and read it, but then I don't get the ending. So
yeah.
I'm like, come on. But he keeps saying, he's like, Dad, one of these days, it'll hit me and I'll go back and finish it. He's like, I got to get these other ideas out while they're in my head. And I'm like, well, I guess I get that.
Well, I create a whole bunch. I have files, where I write down the whole idea, and if I don't have an ending or something, I always map out so I have a beginning, middle, and end before I do anything big.
Yeah.
And so I have the bones of the whole thing.
Right. Yeah,
So
you've got the
it's
outline.
the only way, because I'm the same way. I'll go I'll bounce from project to project, and I had to, like 10, 15 years ago, I had to kind of focus myself and say, okay, no, you have to work on one thing. You have to finish that thing.
You can't move till you finish.
Yeah, you have to you can take a moment and write down ideas, but then you have to get back to the thing that your main goal.
Could you call George Martin for me? And just
let him taking my calls right now. I just
just give him a little hint. They say, George, this is something I try. Maybe try not doing anything else until you finish.
Oh man, I actually hopefully he gets it done sooner rather than later.
I know. It's honestly it's really too late. It's just too late.
I don't know. I'm a Terry Pratchett guy myself. So
Terry Pratchett is such an excellent writer, and some of his stuff's starting to get made now. There for a while you couldn't really find any that had been made into TV shows or movies, but it's starting to come out now. People are, I think he's having a renaissance.
Oh God, that would be well, those mini series were fantastic. I mean, those were pitch perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was, I was hoping that they'd keep getting to do those, but
yeah.
Sigh.
I know. So what did you do growing up? Were you writing at that time? Were you doing other creative activities during school? What was
Drawing.
that like growing up? Okay, so you did some drawing.
I did a ton of drawing. I totally would have been that kid on Instagram who, would have had a ton of pictures, not very well done.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was also one of the reasons why I moved to writing, was because I can do like a character sketch, and I can get the idea out pretty good. But after
Right.
that, so I'll be sitting in the board meeting going, okay, this is what I want. Can you make that pretty? So so
That's good though. At
so
least
much
you
of
have an
that.
idea. That
Yeah,
comes in
yeah, I
handy for
can.
like cover sketches and stuff.
Oh no, like Lovecraft, I can, I have him down kind of perfectly.
Yeah.
He down to the suit. I even did a little research and found like the weapons he carries. I kind of know exactly what he carries. So
Yeah.
some people are less defined in my brain, and other people just are crystal clear, and it's really, and there
Yeah.
isn't a kind of a rhyme or reason. It isn't until like later I go, oh, okay, the dragon is black and blue, but for the longest time he was just amorphous. I didn't really know what color
That's
he
right.
was.
That's right. Exactly right. So let's talk about the book. So the book is SuperHorror Max,
Mhm.
and one of the characters in the book is named Lovecraft, and I'm assuming that that's an homage to Lovecraft.
Yep, that is indeed an homage. Well, that's his working name.
Yeah.
So, if you will, because when we first meet him, he's a substitute teacher, um, and driving a bunch of school kids into a jail, running from a zombie outbreak,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
so
we're jumping ahead a little bit. Yeah,
yeah.
give the story. What is Super Horror Max about? Because it's awesome. If you like zombie stuff, this is the book for you.
It's kind of got it, and it's kind of got a little of everything.
Yeah.
It came from Ghost Adventures. They have an episode at the Moundsville State Penitentiary, which is the creepiest
Yeah,
place in
that's
the
here in West
universe.
Virginia.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was, um, so I saw that episode and I was like, you know, what if you had to go there? Because there's like these beautiful little houses along
Yeah.
the outside, and it's like if you had to escape, and immediately I was like, well, zombies. That would be the only
Of
thing that
course.
would make you go, who would make you go into a potentially haunted jail,
Right.
and because I'm not normally gonna, I'd be like, no, we're not gonna go to the
No,
haunted jail.
nobody's going to do that. Who wants to do
so
that? I guess there are people that want to do that.
so yeah, and Lovecraft actually had been in some previous stuff I had done, and I kind
Yeah.
of took the character and I thought he would be a good fit for it, and then he's kind of just there for the day. He's doing a little reconnaissance, but then the alarm goes off and he suddenly has to learn how to drive a school bus, which was not in his repertoire. But what was really
He didn't have
cool,
his commercial C or whatever driver's license.
exactly, he didn't have any. He was barely an A. He's like A license. you know, but what was really kind of neat, I wasn't sure exactly where the story was going as I was first writing it. I had the bare bones of it.
Yeah.
But, what was really neat was the kid Max, who is has been through, this is actually his second zombie outbreak. And
Oh, right.
so he's kind of like, I'm stuck in this again, you know? And he kind of gloms on to Lovecraft, who is really, he's kind of the only person of his caliber there.
Right.
The only person who really, and there's a lot of like, you're first substitute teacher, you know a lot about guns. So, and he's like, I was a deputy once, kind of thing, lie like a rug. And so out of that, as they're trying to get everyone into the jail, initially, to just get them there, this kid becomes kind of a reluctant. It's kind of, he reluctantly goes, okay, this kid's helpful. I'm gonna, and he becomes sort of an ally to. And as the story progressed, it became really, that was the central focus of it, that their kind of father-son relationship, as they become, complete, they can totally depend on each other.
I think that's the part that I actually like the most, because it catches you off guard, because you think it's one thing, you think it's this type of book, but in the middle of it, it's really about this relationship, this kind of parental relationship that you have going on. And I thought that was really well done, that you could give us some feelings there in the middle of this, zombie outbreak that we're having.
Yeah, and it was like at one point, the kid Lovecraft is guarding something, a gate, and the kid comes out and he's like, I don't want to talk about the nightmare I just had, and Lovecraft's like, okay, being a good parent, okay. And then he's like, okay, come on, you want to talk about it, so
let's get it out.
but it turns out that they kind of have this bond. Lovecraft, had lost as well when he was a kid, so there's that, there's kind of that, but really they just meshed, and that was totally just the story. The story did that. I didn't do that. I was just, I just was a hapless victim, during the whole thing. But my tagline for the story is, they should have been safe.
That's a good tagline.
Yeah, they should have been. If nothing else had gone wrong, they were in a pretty safe area, as long as they had kind of stayed there until the National Guard came. But
they should have been safe. They make it into the prison. They should have been safe. I don't want to give too much away, but they weren't safe.
But see, I have this. So there are these tests, like the Bechdel-Williams test, where, just for anyone who doesn't know, did two women have a conversation that didn't have to do with the hero? Which I'm not so good on this one. But I want to propose a new test, the Dr. Jones test.
Okay.
Because in the Big Bang Theory, Amy Farrah Fowler is talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, and how, if he hadn't done a thing, maybe Hitler would have been there when they opened the Ark. So for me, the Dr. Jones test is, did the hero matter? Did the hero make a difference? And honestly, without the two heroes, now that I'm thinking about it, it's really both of them, because mostly Lovecraft really kind of made sure as many people survived as he did. But if Max had not been there as well, I don't think Lovecraft would have been able to save as many people as he did.
Yeah.
So, and that's,
they definitely helped each other in a lot of different ways. I love that Dr. Jones test, because that was the whole thing. If he'd never been there, if he had done nothing, the exact same thing would have happened.
Well, and if he had handed it to him, put a big bow on it and said, "Here to the Führer,"
you're right. Yeah, same thing. Which that's the whole point of the episode, is it runs Raiders of the Lost Ark for everybody.
Yes, I am still heartbroken. I'm sorry to anyone who hadn't seen it and is heartbroken now. I apologize dearly. And so, but that was, I thought, kind of a good test of any story. Did the central character make a difference?
I think that's really really good. And did you draw upon anything in developing that relationship between Max and Lovecraft? Is that any of that based on personal experience, or was that just all of it just kind of creative?
Well, luckily I was not an orphan, and I have a nice dad. So,
yeah, but was he fighting zombies? I mean, come on.
No, he fights viruses and that kind of stuff as a scientist.
All right.
So, but no, it was. I really am not sure where that came from, and as I said,
Yeah.
I think that came from the. Sometimes the story kind of just tells itself. There were characters who I had established earlier on at the very beginning that I thought were going to be more important later on in the story, and they kind of fell by the wayside. And I
Right.
found that out as I'm writing that, sometimes characters just suddenly they're there for the entire time. They are now a permanent part of the situation.
Right. Right.
And other times people, you just, as a writer, you forget to write them. You forget they're there. And when that happens, I try doing in another series I write, Dragon's Son, about a boy who's adopted by a dragon. I wanted
Not
to.
very often.
It's one of those things that just happen, as a normal kind of things. Um, and I had a character who I really wanted to be part of the whole story, the whole
Yeah.
rest of the series, and it just, as I kept writing story after story, he just wasn't there. So I had to
Yeah.
go back and retcon and take him out. And that was kind of how SuperHorror Max was. I thought that the kids were gonna, the kids that are introduced at the beginning were going to be more essential to the story, but then it just turned into this whole relationship between all these people, and but it was really, there's some really good, interesting things. Now,
I actually find that really fascinating because to me, if you're writing and you get to a point and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to include what's their name. That's probably a pretty good sign that you didn't need them. But you never, and I'm sure that happens to writers all the time, but you never hear anybody talk about that.
yeah, and well, and actually, so like some things came in specifically. The priest, the
Yeah.
Reverend Jennings, who was in there specifically because in The Mist, the movie The Mist, I was so annoyed that the guy just didn't grab the religious person and say, "Okay, we need you to be a little more upbeat now. It's not the end of the world. Come on."
That's right. That's exactly right.
you
Yeah, I
know,
agree. I agree with that.
we need a little more love and hope here,
Yeah.
than what we're getting. So,
So when
so that's.
you were writing,
Mhm.
did all your buddies come in and be like, you know, I'd make a pretty good character in the background, that prison they might need a, groundskeeper.
I tend not to write people into. I tend to be very careful about that. I don't
Yeah.
even really name anyone after anyone I know. Because like, if a Jay or a Jason, or Lena, friends of mine,
Yeah.
I'm very careful about putting them in. Like Chris Carter in the X-Files, though, he would put in people and kill them
That's
off
right.
from high
Yeah.
school, which if that's your fun, I have nothing against that.
That's
For
right.
me, it's just kind of weird. So I never kind of, but I do have characters that will be, um, in the next story, Uncle Danny, in Liberty's Run. Uncle Danny is Danny Trejo, just flat out. This is, you and so kind of I wouldn't say a love letter because you don't really love letters to guys, but
Right.
a you're awesome lover letter to him,
Yeah.
of this bad guy, really kick butt sort of guy.
That's
Trying to be
exactly
careful
right.
on my language.
That's exactly right. Well,
um,
so is that book? Is it a sequel to this one, or is it a separate story?
it's a separate story actually.
Yeah.
So that's actually it's completely different. That's more of a sprawling epic, whereas Super Horror Max is more of a very self-contained story. They're
Yeah.
out for a little bit at the beginning, and then at the very end they're out. But really, for the majority of the story, they are, they go into they get into the jail, and then they're kind of they're in one spot, and then they're pushed into a tighter corner, and then they're pushed into a tighter corner, and it's like,
So to me, the whole story lends itself to a movie or maybe a limited series. And I know you had to be thinking the same thing.
Oh my God. Well, Nathan Fillion, you know. I'm not
Well,
saying
that's
Nathan
what I was going to
Fillion should
ask.
play
Who's Lovecraft? Because I knew you'd know. Nathan Fillion, perfect.
He would. There's totally that he could do the tough stuff, the funny.
Yeah.
He would be perfect for it.
And he's back in shape now. He's playing for the rookie. He's back. He's in. He's kind of in fighting shape now.
I wouldn't care. I would.
No, I wouldn't.
He has a suit. You can tailor it to make him look perfect.
Right. He's such a good actor. It wouldn't matter.
He would nail it totally.
So, who do you play when they make SuperHorror Max into a movie or a limited series? Because you got to have a cameo. Who are you?
Oh, I don't know. I could play zombie number one.
Only if you wear that vest. You have to wear this vest. But you can't explain it. It has to be a zombie in that vest, that get up with no explanation as to why they're wearing that.
Well, when anything like this happens, everyone's going to be in different walks of life. I always think about that. What were they doing the day that they got killed? When they were
for sure.
He could have been like, I'm off to my interview. I look beautiful, and then why is that person running towards me? So. So let's talk about your zombies, because they mutate a little bit. So what kind of powers or abilities do your zombies have? Well, really, they had power. The powers that they were given were more to serve the story.
Yeah.
There were ones that, because they were they're in a prison behind thick walls, and my zombies are what I call Romero class zombies. So as opposed to Danny Boyle class zombies, so they're just the shamblers, and they're not going to climb, they're not going to do anything. So I use them as kind of a very standard starting point, but then I needed ones that might dangle from above. So, and then I needed more to break down walls. So it was really more from the needs of the story was how I created them, and each one had its specific function, but actually each one was something that would be needed, because you might have the whole front of the house boarded up, but if one of those runners gets in the top window, game over, man. You might have a huge big sturdy door. You might have one of those security doors. No zombie's ever going to get through that. But so I thought, of the two, those guys are going to take care of 99% of any difficulties along the way. And actually they're pretty kind of terrifying if you think of it as, I'm in a house and those things are outside, wow. I mean, they're in a prison.
Scary.
Yeah,
it's pretty scary.
Well, and that's kind of even the very beginning, the first, which you can actually, if you go on Amazon, and you can even read, like, the first chapter is the Secretary of State getting being told about this, and one of the generals says, well, this better be good, and she's like, if we're here, we're all here, it's not.
It's bad.
This is not a good development for humankind. But
it's not our best day.
But that's the thing, a real strong part of this whole story, though, is not giving up. Going back to the end of the mist, we're not going to spoil that, so you shouldn't see it. If you haven't seen it, don't see it. but
Yeah, I agree.
um,
Agree.
some people love it, but it's not giving up. It's there's a point towards the end point, and Lovecraft's like, I only got 2 bullets left, and one guy goes, well, you know what you need those for? And he's like, I'm gonna put those in some zombie, and then I'm gonna turn around and use it as a club,
That's
and
right.
pistol whip someone with
He's
it.
not giving up.
Yeah, you are gonna drag. If I got to drown you in my own blood, I
Not
will.
Nathan Fillion Lovecraft. He's not giving up. so
And
so
yeah.
let's talk a little bit because I love this book, and you recently were the Open Contract Challenge winner, which is I love. We had last year's winner on as well. Talk a little bit about that. What is the Open Contract Challenge?
Oh, thank you. Because I almost forgot to talk about. Okay, so at the end of this month, the Open Contract Challenge is looking for pitches for your book. So if you have a book that you're interested in getting published, go to the opencontractchallenge.com. Upper right corner, you'll see submissions.
Yep.
Send us your pitch. I want to, actually, as last year's winner, I'm the final judge for this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So I get to read the last 2 books, and I'm trying to spread the word as far as I can to get people. And it's not just novels, novelettes, comic books, books of poetry. The first year's winner was a book of poetry. Mine is horror, but the second place for this year was a novelette or novella. I'm not sure what you called it exactly, but yeah, take a chance.
Take a chance.
You never know. I wasn't sure.
So you submit the idea for the book, and then I'm assuming there's a cut down from there. So those that advance from there, then what's the next step?
Yeah. So, and actually, the pitch for mine was exactly, running from a zombie outbreak. A substitute teacher drives a school bus full of kids into a jail. That was pretty much it for mine.
Yeah.
And then from there, they whittle those down to they pick 10 people out of that. I don't want to say whittle because that sounds so awful.
That's right. But yeah, because I'm sure there's way more good ideas than 10. That's hard. That's probably not easy getting to 10.
Probably so, so it breaks down to 10, and then they send in I'm trying to remember, there's a synopsis at one point, there is a cover letter at another point, and then at the last, and then so it goes from 10 to 5 to 2, and then
a winner. And then you.
yeah, which actually this had been my second year trying. So I won 3rd place the first year with the exact same book. And,
very nice. So you're allowed to resubmit.
Yeah. I asked him. I'm like, can I? Because the other book I was working on wasn't ready to be seen by human eyes, or even in human eyes. So yeah, we're trying to get out the word, to people to, take a chance. You never know. I didn't think I was going to win this year. I just thought, I might as well try.
Yeah, you might as well try.
I'm in a spiffy outfit.
That's right. That's right. So what happens when you win?
So, for me, it was actually they called me up. He called me up at work, or he texted me at work saying, "I got to talk to you." And I got on with my boss, and texted her and said, "I need 15." So, and I timed it because I knew I could chat forever with Dave.
Right. It's Dave Montoya we're talking about. He's a talker.
Guilty. Yeah, I can. So, and he's just like, the other person never put in their book, so the other second place person never put in their work. So, you're it. You're the winner. And actually he offered me at that same time a contract for my other book. So,
nice.
Yeah. Oh, that's a story. We might need a whole hour
Part two. Part two.
It would be wonderful to be able to come back, but it was really neat. And then, so as that, you get to, you send in you go over the manuscript,
Yes.
send that in, and then he had a professional editor look at it. Thank God. And comma, my enemy.
Right.
And it was really neat, and it came out on March 9th on Amazon in both Kindle and print.
That's
And
exciting.
it's amazing, it's really, it's the culmination, but it's the culmination of all that, 5 or 6 years ago now, saying, I have to make an effort. I have
Right.
to start sending in short stories and making those relationships. You never know
Yes.
what's gonna end up being that thing that people really love, and
Right.
and that's what I'm kind of really excited about, to see what people send in this year for the open contract challenge, because you know I'm the final judge, and actually I've also been blackmailed. I mean, asked to be the director of it. So I'm actually in charge of the open contract challenge.
Well, this has
So
turned into a whole thing for you.
yeah, a lot more work, but it's
So
good
wait a
work,
minute though. Is that the catch? Be like, oh, you've won, and now you're the director.
Well, no, you win, and then you're asked to be the grand judge for the next year.
Yeah, I think that's
So
awesome.
and then and
It's
then
such a good idea.
yeah, and then you get your book out, you get to and you get to go to the convention.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a free ticket to whatever is the next one, which might be in October, to be continued,
That's right.
on
That's
that
right.
one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We're all hoping that we get back to the convention, in person days.
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
So,
If it
uh,
happens, I think it's going to be this fall. So that's October
yeah,
should be.
it's looking really good.
Yeah.
So we're getting, I mean, 3 million people vaccinated a day. That's thank
That's
God.
not small numbers. That's pretty good.
Pulp Fiction was made for $3 million.
Yeah.
That's a good solid number.
Exactly right.
So it's really nice, and actually, as part of being the director, I'm going to help the next person who
Yeah.
wins. I'm going to help them, kind of work on marketing and stuff like that to get their
Yeah.
name out there, because that's something I kind of had to figure out at grounds, from no idea what I was doing. So and but publicity is a big part of it,
For sure.
and getting to talk to people. So that for me, that was really important to learn,
Yeah.
and what a good reason to learn it. So, but that's what I want to
That's
do as
exciting.
director.
I think that's what you want, right? As an author, you want to be face to face with people that are excited about something that you've written. I think that's great.
Well, and just so much, I think people will really like this book because it's fun. There's a lot of action.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spooky. I mean, there's not just zombies. There's ghosts, monsters,
Yeah.
more ghosts, more monsters.
It's got a very supernatural vibe to it.
Yeah, unspeakable evil in the basement. So, so it's kind of like. But the thing is I just need to find the people who would like it, and tell them about it,
Well, they're
and
out there. I guarantee they're out there. It's not just me. There's millions of us.
I'm just so, and thank you for, giving me this forum,
Sure.
like, come on.
So no, it's my pleasure.
It's
such a good book. I'm a big fan of your writing. I'm excited that you're still writing, that there's more coming.
Last night I had an idea, and I was sitting there typing on my iPad, furiously, something completely unconnected to everything else, but is like, oh my God, this is a really good idea, and I'm so busy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the part that I think a lot of people don't realize when you it's not like for most people, writing isn't the only thing you're doing. You know, you have to make time to write.
I got a new position at my awesome day job, and but my boss already knew because she was the one I texted about. I have to
Yeah.
go talk about the publishing thing, getting my book published thing, and so she was like, "Okay, I'll let you do this, but you got to promise me you won't walk away." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 I'm good."
Well, that was before you got on this podcast. I mean, you have to go back
well,
to like I did. I didn't know.
well,
But
we
now
need
I've
to.
been on Too Opinionated. Stuff's happening. I'm gonna have
We,
to just walk away.
well, we need the. That's why we need the Spielberg role, because if
Yeah.
Steven calls, oh, what can I say? I'm not gonna say no.
No, there's nothing
Yeah,
you can say there.
all you say
Spielberg
is yes,
calls, you're
sir,
out.
Mr. Spielberg. And yes, I can get that in the next month, Mr. Spielberg. I don't need sleep.
Spielberg's not the one you want to say, yeah, but I got to give 2 weeks notice.
That's okay. I'll just not sleep for a month. I'm good.
That's right. You knock
I
it
can
out. You can
manage
do
it.
it. You're in your prime. You can do it. Well, Walter, this has been the best. And you absolutely have
Thank
to
you.
come back and tell us how it's going, talk about the new book, all that stuff. We got to
Oh my
do it.
God. Liberty's Run comes out in September, beginning of September, and
Yeah.
that's a story in and of itself. So,
All right, we're going. That
right
sounds
now,
like here. Come August, we gotta do it again. We got
yep.
we gotta talk about it. We gotta do the same thing. New book.
Yes, absolutely. I am ready. I can't wait.
Well, so you can't put that book into the contract challenge, right? Because now you're judging it.
Well, he actually already gave me the contract. So he
Yeah,
gave
well,
me
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
so
you've already got the contract, so you don't have any.
yeah,
You don't
I
have the
can't
incentive.
participate. I'm not actually even supposed to talk to any authors. All I can say is go to opencontractchallenge.com, submit. That's all I can say.
That's
I
all you
can't
can
talk
say.
to anyone because I want to be as fair and as
Well, that's
impartial
right.
as
That's exactly
possible.
right. You want to give
You
everybody
know,
an even chance.
Yep, that's what Dave always did for everyone.
Yeah.
And he was always really straight on that. He was always like, I can't root for anyone, even though I want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, but and if you go to Amazon, put in Walter Esselman,
Pops
you
right
can
up.
find it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it pops
and
right up.
or go to walteresselman.com, and
Yeah.
I even have a newsletter now called
Nice.
the secret and forbidden ethereal order of the flying blue monkeys. So, we have to go off camera though to talk about it. So, but that's going to have original story or hard to find stories in there.
Yeah, you got to join that newsletter just for the name. I mean,
that was pretty much it.
that's terrific. And that was my next question. Well, is there anywhere else that you're located on social media?
I am on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me I'm also on Dragon's Son and on Walter G. Esselman on Facebook. And so I'm in a few places, but with as busy as I am, the website is going to be my primary place that I'm going to be putting stuff out. But if you go to the writer's page, all the links should work. And if they don't, let me know, please. I want to.
That's right.
Bad links.
Well, yeah, that's right. Nothing worse than a website with busted links.
Oh man, I don't want to go there.
No, you don't want to go there. Now, Walter, that's awesome. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you have upcoming or that is out there currently that we can go and check out?
The website is pretty much the best place to go. And waltergesselman.com. And that has so many pages and stuff. And I'm making a really distinct effort to always make sure that landing page gets updated. So with anything new. But
Yeah.
I'm still working on the editing for Liberty's Run, which is out in September. I'm not even putting out stories to short stories right now. I just don't have the time.
No, that's right.
So it's
That's right. George Martin, take notice. This is how you do it.
get one
Focus.
project at a time. You get it done.
Get it done. Then you move
got,
on.
Yes. Get the series done. Come on, everyone.
I pick on George, but if somebody, drove a truckload of money up to me and be like, how about this much? I'd be like, okay, all right, you got it.
Well, you don't want to, there's a certain trap getting too, like Jake, someone asked me, well, what about, you want to be like J.K. Rowling? I'm like, oh my God. I mean, think of the pressure to write.
So much. So much.
You got to bring not only your A game, but your A+ game, it's not going to be very fun,
That's right. And that's the whole point. You want to have fun.
Yeah. Then that'll come out in the story, that enjoyment comes out in the story, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Well, thank you so much, Walter. This has been the best. The book is SuperHorror Max. It's awesome. I haven't finished it yet, but so far it's been great. I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I'm not the only one reading it. If I get something, my wife's reading it, my son's reading it, you're getting all A's, right? So far. So far, we haven't finished. But all
questions you can ask me. So
yeah, that's right. No, it's been terrific.
I'm not one of those.
Well, now my question was, who's playing Lovecraft? You answered it's Nathan Fillion, so I'm on board. I want a piece of that. I want in on that. All right, Walter, hang on one second. We'll pause it. So that was the talented Walter Esselman. If you haven't checked out SuperHorror Max yet, you definitely want to check that out. It is a fun book. And the dynamic, the father-son dynamic, Lovecraft and Max, awesome. That was, to me, the best part of the book. And there's a lot of good parts. If you like the supernatural, really, really excellent book. So definitely check that out. He talked about the Open Contract Challenge, which is just, I think, one of the best book publishing challenges or contests that are out there. There's a lot of them, but I think this is one of the best ones. So definitely check that out. Just a blast. Walter was the best and such a talented writer. Go to his website, check out the other stuff he's done. He's got a lot of good stuff on there. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you coming back week after week. If you haven't done so yet, please go to YouTube, MeisterCon Pod, and subscribe. We would appreciate the help there. You can also go to our website, meistercon.com. I think now we have about 215 episodes, audio and video available, as well as a blog, and all the fun, exciting stuff that we're up to is on there as well. So please check that out. Until next time, bye everybody.